Viaggi per rivivere il tuo passato? Viaggi per ritrovare il tuo futuro? L'altrove è uno specchio negativo. Il viaggiatore riconosce il poco che è suo, scoprendo il molto che non ha avuto e non avrà. Questa rubrica è stata ideata con l'intento di raccogliere le testimonianze di quegli allenatori europei che per affermarsi sono stati costretti tramite un processo osmotico ad allontanarsi da casa, mettendo in gioco il proprio equilibrio di persona all'inizio, in nome del calcio. Hi everyone, today with us is coming a greatest cultivator of talents. Probably someone could say flower cultures because in Portugal there is the tradition related to lavender, but Renato Paiva has developed a lot of talents in Portugal and then in South America. So now he's finding in Toluca in Mexico. So what are the difference between European football and South American football, in particular Mexico football?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a big pleasure to speak with you about football. It's a common passion, so I'm very happy to be here. Thank you. Um, well, talent, individual talent, they are very close. Portuguese players with South American players. Portugal is a small country, as you know, but spread players and coaches in a big number. It's cultural. Kids almost they born with the ball in their hands and in their feet. So common, we have the individual talent. After the big difference is about the learning of the game, the tactical part. I felt that in Portugal and in Europe, there are a big concern about developing young players. I think it's spreading all over the clubs and all over the Europe. People in Portugal happen because lack of money. So you have the clubs, they have the necessity to develop players, to form players instead of buying. And in South America, they are not very concerned about that situation. Also, they are selling market. So the kid has 16 years old, 17 years old. I remember James Rodriguez in Banfield started with 14 years old, which is incredible in professional team. When they felt talent and the kid is good, they send the kid to the Lions, so to the big competition and to professional world, and they are not very concerned about developing defensive principles, offensive principles. And that's the big challenge that we have since we arrived to Ecuador, was exactly to sometimes with players with 30 years old, you have to explain about the body positioning, the foot positioning, things that in Europe you develop normally with the young kids. Principles, defensive and offensive principles. And big challenge is this one. And when I arrived, because I made scouting to Benfica along 23 years in this market, Argentina, Colombia, Uruguay, Libertadores, Sudamericana, Brazil. I made scouting and I knew very well this market. So when I arrived with my technical staff, I say to them, guys, we have to be very balanced between teaching the game, teaching the tactical part without killing the talent. Because I felt along these years that in Europe, some South American players, for example, they failed in Europe because there's so many tactical part that the tactical part hide the talent of the individual, the technical talent of the players. and they get frustrated and they failed and they return to South America. So I tell them, guys, if you want to have long life here in South America, we have to receive that technical talent, work that technical talent, but with the correct measure of tactic. And for me, it's the biggest difference is the tactical part. Then there are other differences regarding, for example, the stadiums, the pitches. In Europe, the people are very concerned with the quality of the pitch. In South America, you can play with grass like this high, and that's another challenge. For example, for me, that I want my teams to play the ball on the ground, to play a support game. It was another challenge because there are pitches that was very, very difficult and almost impossible to work like that. So this, for me, these two big differences, and the biggest difference, in my opinion, regarding now the individual guy player, is that in South America, you have the necessity of becoming a football player. You have the necessity to become a football player, to give food to your family. And in Europe, of course, there are cases of real necessity, but it's a different environment, it's a different context. And that's why so many players in South America, so they become from difficult neighborhoods, difficult families, and I believe that as I say, the necessity is the mother of all the things. If you need something, you have to work to get that. And when we are speaking about hungry, to earn money to give food to your family, it's a heavy team. So it's an heavy situation that you have to lead with.
In fact, properly to link to your last topic, I would remember the last case, Everton Suarez, when he came to Benfica, its failure, and he won in Brazil, South America Cup with Brazil, but in Benfica, he didn't earn the success. So
Yeah.
your analysis is very clear and very fine. In fact, I would like to remember a common point between South America and Portugal that is relying on creativity and talent. To move forward, I would know which is the learning path that you have created with your staff in order to improve young guys and younger player.
Look, it's not about me, it's about a structure, and the structure that is
Factory team, in fact, I would know.
made by the club, by Benfica. So I think the big step was to make very clear what's the path to go, what's the philosophy to respect in order to develop young players. Then choose good coaches, very good coaches, adapt that coaches to the ages that they are coaching, and facing the boy as a boy. And you say, I work with a 12-year-old boy. I cannot make the same things when I work with a 19 years old boy. So step by step, as I told you, for example, in younger ages, they don't work tactical part. They develop player like technical part, touching lots of times in the ball, making lots of decisions, small-sided games, but without the heavy dependence of a tactical idea. And then when they grow up and they pass age after age, normally 15 years old, you start to give some tactical ideas. You start to you do not fix a player in a position. For example, I am a central defender, but this guy is a central defender, but I think he could be a very center midfielder, very good center midfielder. Let's test that situation. give problems to them, give different situations, different realities. But always, for me, the most important part was to identify the age of the boy and the things that you can teach in that age. And that's for me, and this becomes a very structured development of a player. Okay. So it was about that. When you have the age to develop technical part, you develop technical part. When you felt that you need to start tactical part, you need to start tactical part. Then the tactical part, you develop one system. In the other age, two systems. And when the guys arrive to the first team, they have experienced a long way of learning and structure learning. They identify and they try to know the game. And then when you reach the first team, you can have a coach that thinks in one way, other coach that thinks in another way. So the decision of Benfica is in the youth department. They were like equal from the under 6 until the B team. It's isolated from the first team, because you can have a coach 6 months and then you sack the coach, it becomes another, and then you are changing. No, instead of teaching systems, we try to teach the boys to understand the game. If you understand the game, you can play in 4-4-2 and 4-3-3 and 3-5-2. Understand the game. And for me, that's the biggest value that Benfica has.
For example, you go away the Ajax model, in which there is only one tactics 4-3-3. It's totally different from Ajax
Exactly.
from this point
Exactly.
of view. Then
Exactly.
I would touch another point, another topic, with the famous quote of Mino Fabini. I don't know if you know, Mino Fabini was the founder of Atalanta Yacht Sector. Atalanta
Mhm.
Yacht Sector.
Mhm.
He said that to a guy, it's not important to train the player only from a technical point, but it's important given to a guy the tools to be able to handle every situation, both on and off the pitch. Because I know that the mentality of a guy from 14 to 20 years old, it's very important. It's a characteristic that determine his future in
Mhm.
professional football. What do you think about this?
Yeah, in part I agree, because, for example, again in Benfica, we have the lots of psychologists that they are worked regarding the ages. So a psychologist for each age, to prepare, to identify the debilities, the fragilities of the kids, when they are good, where they are, because Benfica is a very good club. And when you arrive to the first team, they demand a lot. There are 6 million of fans, and a team that
Eagles.
always to win, plays to win, is the team that has the biggest number of titles in Portugal. So uh, we have to prepare the guys to that demandings. As I told you, we have psychologists in all the ages. And one thing very important, we know, we Benfica is very demands a lot school abilities.
Mm.
So, for example, if I have a player in this month, they have bad marks in the school, he does not train. He has no authorization to train. And you say to them, normally you train 4 times a week, you only will train 2. The other time you will use it to study. And after study, you have to give me better marks, and you have to return to play. So when they have bad marks, they didn't train and they didn't play. That's the problem. And the problem is about this.
You are talking
Yeah.
about another topic, according to me, is how to provide to financial topic, because when you start to earning a lot of money, some guys probably they go out from their individual path. In Italy, is very famous the case of Mario Balotelli. I don't know if you know. And this,
Of course.
for example, with the Brazilian mentality that you talked before, it's easy to follow this career, this unsuccess. You think? Do you agree with me, or according to
Yes,
you, there is another way to talk with guys and talk with family, for example?
yes, but I worked in Brazil, I worked in Ecuador, now in Mexico. They are not very worried about the school, for
Mm.
example, the education of the boy. And sometimes these boys, they become not only about school education, family education, and sometimes they become from difficult families where the education bases are fragile, are not strong. And then this makes you different from a structured education. And I didn't felt in any moment any worries about the school education, the fathers and mothers. No, if my boy has to miss a school test to play, he missed a school test. So it's completely different from Europe. And in Benfica, we say we form players, but we also try to form men, to develop men. And that's the part that I feel is very different. Of course, there are families in Portugal that they are also not structured with difficulties, and we have players that become from that reality. And that kind of development is more difficult because the club has to work from almost zero. But I think this is strongly influenced about the education that you gave, the sport education, but also the family education.
In Italy, there is the tradition for coaches to focus on their careers, win tournaments, and try to stand out. I think that I imagine that in Benfica you works differently because you said that before. But how do you train your coaches in the out sector, which is the model for coaches to follow?
Yeah, the coaches have to respect the
The
model
rules, the
that
rules, the rules for coaches.
exactly. So you have a game model, which is general to the youth department, and then you divide that game model and adapt for the ages, and you have to respect some steps, and you have the freedom to make your training sessions, but you have directors, technical directors that assist, watch your training sessions, and they don't tell you have to do this exercise. No, they tell you we have this objective. So create your exercise that leads the players to this objective, to this aim. So it's something very structured. You cannot, for example, say, no, for example, I would tell you, under 15, only 4-3-3. You don't have the freedom to, without training 4-4-2, start playing 4-4-2 because you want to be more offensive, or the result is important, but is not the most important. The develop of the players is the most important. So you have a guideline that we have to follow in Benfica.
A good question, because what are the difference between Benfica and Sporting de Portugal Academy? Because Sporting Portugal is the third club in Portugal, but is very focused on the academia, and
Mhm,
he base his business plan on younger player. And
mhm.
according to you, because I know that you study rivalry, or I know. According to you, and I know that you know your colleagues, so you study according to you at first state, which is what are the difference at first glance?
Today we have not so many difference. Let's go a little bit to the past. Not
Because in the past, what,
time, past time, 80s, 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 90s. Sporting was very focused on developed players, and Benfica very focused on buying players and winning titles. Okay,
Juventus of Portugal, according to me, Benfica.
exactly. Then in 2004, our president decided to build our facilities, our training facilities, which are fantastic. And after building the training facilities, the idea was I invest a lot of money here. I have players that leave Benfica without being utilized in the first team, and they are very important in other teams. So instead of buying, I want to develop. And at that moment, curiously, Sporting changed the idea. Or say, start to win without developing, utilizing strong players in the youth teams instead of talent to have performance and to win games. And Benfica changed the idea. The best players of each age, they play age up, one age up or 2 ages up. Don't want to know about my championship of the under 15. I want my best under 15 playing with the other 16 or the under 17. And then 10 years, more or less, to 2004, more or less 2017, 18, Sporting stops and became to the first idea of developing, also because of financial problems. So today there are not a big difference between them. Yeah, the big difference is in the scouting.
In the scouting,
Yeah.
what are the difference? Because
Benfica,
the area is different, geographical area.
No. Benfica invest more money in the scouting department. So lots of scouts along the country, and Sporting no. So we have more players, better players than Sporting. In
fact, I would remember because I fall in love with Oscar Cardozo and then Ramirez and other recently Joe Felix and then a lot of guys, Gaetan and Di Maria,
Maria.
And which is the elements to, what are the elements to select this player? Which you focus as a selector or a scouter?
Yeah, but I talent, and we are reaching, finding players to the first team is different about youth department. At that moment we want performance. If they are technical good, talent, Cardozo score lots of goals. So the idea was to find a player with that characteristics that help the first team, professional team, like Di Maria, very talent boy, 19 years old in Rosario Central. So national team of Argentina, we need a winger. So it depends of the necessities that we have in the first team.
No, but someone has started probably in Benfica B that you have coached someone of this player probably have started in Benfica B, like Vinicius Junior in Real Madrid probably, or or coming immediately in first team.
Yeah, after this decision, instead of buying players outside, we try to watch inside the club and understand if we have, for example, in B team, I can give you this example. Lindelof of Manchester United is the player that has more games in the B team of Benfica. Ruben Dias played 2 seasons in B team before starting in the professional A team. So if you have a central defender as Ruben Dias in the B team, you try not to buy outside. But if you feel that inside of your youth department of your B team under 19, you don't have any a player from a specific position, you don't have players in the youth department, so you have to buy. And then another step that Benfica made was, because the players become very expensive, was to buy players that are now appearing in their clubs, try to buy them 18 years old, for example, and put them developing in B team. That's another step that they gave. But if you have, as I told you, a center defender, as today you have Antonio Silva in first team of Benfica, you didn't buy a central defender. You buy Morato, Brazilian, at São Paulo, because president call us and say, I don't have a left foot center back in our youth department. So we have to buy one. But now we have in the first team, but we have to buy one in 1 year or 2 years, be prepared to play in the first team. So we buy Morato at São Paulo, and he played 2 years in the B team, and then he became to the A team.
I know that the very high and expensive clause in the contract of this young player, because Benfica, it's a very expensive shop for the other team. But congratulations, youth sector. In fact, in 2019, you became the coach of Benfica B. How do you adapt your vision from youth sector to Benfica B? Because before you have a young player and then you have a professional player. So it's totally different.
Yeah, because the Benfica create the B team. How can I say? There was a huge difference between under 19 and first team of Benfica. Huge difference. I can tell you that if you play in youth department of Benfica, all your games you attack 90% of the game. You don't defend. You have only 6, 7, 8 games during the year, competitive games, difficult games against Porto, Sporting, Braga, etc. All the other games you attack and attack and attack, you lose the ball, recover the ball again. So lots of problems regarding the development of player in a competition. So we felt that when the under 19 arrived to the first team, they have lots of difficulties, not because of the talent, because of the learning process, but because of the demandings that the competition didn't give to them. So president decided to create a B team to play in second league. And that step from the under 19 to second division was little bit little than the step from under 19 to the A team first division. And then in the B team was a preparation for the professional football. So we know that we will suffer a lot because young players, inexperienced young players, regarding professional football, but president said to us it's important not be relegated to second division, to third division, try to focus on prepare the players for the demandings of professional game and competitions, but always it's an adaptation, and they start to feel difficulties because they attack less, they defend more. The other teams, they are more difficult teams, more difficult players to play against, and the difficulties will grow. Of course, when you balance difficulty of the competition with your talent, the player becomes more prepared and becomes more prepared to the first team.
And in the Christmas day on 2020, you decide to start a solo career. How did you feel in that day? Like a son leaving home, I imagine, because 15 years,
Yeah,
it's
it's
difficult
my
to
comfort.
forget. It's difficult to forget.
Yeah. So 18 years in the same club, my heart's club. I'm a fan of Benfica from baby, but I felt that I need another challenge. I need to challenge myself in order that you are in the same team, doing more or less the same things during a lot of years. Um, and I decide to leave my comfort zone. And I decide to, if it is a good project, uh, to give next step. Obviously, next step will not be training Real Madrid, for example. You have to be conscious what you are, what you know, who you are, and I felt if a good project appears regarding your capacity, you will accept it. And in the I received lots of offers when I was in Benfica from first league, Portuguese first league, but our president didn't let me go. Uh, I was good paid in Benfica, so move for a team that has a middle table or a down table in Portuguese league was not very challenge for me. And when arrived Independiente, I felt that knowing the ideas, knowing the philosophy based on young boys. So for me, I said, it's the next step. Instead of being a huge step, it's a structure step to give. And I will accept this opportunity to go finally to the professional football.
A good, great job because Indipendente del Valle, I would remember that was a successful team recently because in history there are other teams in Ecuador one championship and a final with in Copa Libertadores and Sud American Cup.
American.
Thanks to you. In fact, I would thanks to you because in fact I would remember to our audience the final against Elmec against Elmec. How do you feel in that game? And I
No,
would remember the final.
yeah,
Champion at first shot. Champion at first shot. Congratulations.
exactly. Exactly. You touch an interesting point because the biggest clubs in Ecuador are three: Emelec, Barcelona, and Liga de Quito. And Independiente is the fourth team, and is the fourth team not by titles, not by players, but is a team very structured with a clear philosophy. They didn't change anything. This is our way of work. We try to develop players. We have very good youth department. We cannot buy expensive players. We have to buy in second division of Argentina, in Bolivia, and so. But for me, the challenge was that they have very good young players and a factory very well worked to develop players. Then we arrived and we felt that with that kind of organization outside the field and with our tactical organization inside the field and developing players, we can arrive nearby the three big clubs. So in Abertura, first 6 months, we fight for the first place until the last game. We became third, 1 point or 2 points down from Emelec. And I met with my directors and I said, we are very close to them. We just need 2, 3 experienced players to join, to mix with the young players and players that I used to win titles and to play finals. And that's where we bought Junior Sornosa, Bauman, which was the best top scorer at that time of the championship. And I told them, if we buy these players, we can win the Clausura and play the final against Emelec. And became reality. So we made this clausura extraordinary, and we arrived to the moment of the final in a very good shape. And yes, I remember every seconds of the first game and the second game. It flooded the pitch in the second game. We cannot play. Yeah, but it was for us, for my first experience, became a national champion and the first national champion title of Independente del Valle, because they have already won the Sudamericana, but national titles they didn't have. So it was fantastic for us.
We were talking about the out sector. Also, in this case, you relied your strengths on young player. I remember William Pacho. William Pacho. I love William Pacho now in Eintracht Forte. Then Moses Caicedo. The next season, I know Moses Caicedo, but Moses Caicedo came out from the out sector. So you study and you see with your eyes. So,
Exactly.
and at the same time, you try to go in the field some player that in the previous season didn't play a lot. So you create a group. How you were able to create this group, because sometimes it's chemics and based on the feelings and
Yeah.
emotions, so something that it's outside
Yeah.
tactics, technical points.
I think it was very, very important, my experience as a scout and and as a youth coach, because Pacho, Hurtado,
Henry
Hur-
Pites now. Henry
now can replies, Pacho, Hurtado, Chavez,
Jonathan.
Pedro Vite, uh, all that players didn't play for the first team in Independiente del Valle. So when we arrived, we received a squad, and we received also some tips about this player, this player, this player. And I said, this preseason, I want to see these players with me, all of them. And of course, as I told you, my experience as a scout, detecting talent and developing players was very important to understand that, wow, Pedro Vite, it's a very good number 10. He's not in the squad, but it was a very good tip. So Pedro Vite started as in the first 11 in the first game, and 6 months after, it was sold to the United States. So I think that it was very, very important, that capacity of identifying quality of the players and know how to work that quality. And as I told you, the next step was, too many young players is difficult to win a title with too many young players. But if you can mix that quality of the young players with experienced players, that's the ideal mix, and it works.
For example, could you tell us some anecdotes about William Pacho when there was when he came out from a youth sector, or
Yeah,
Drovite,
yeah,
in
yeah,
order
because
to understand this job that it's
yeah,
incredible.
it's very simple. First of all, every clubs in Europe, in all the world, they are trying uh, to find a left-footed center back, very high, almost 2 meters, very quick, and with the ball in their feet, very technical guy. Pacho was not very aggressive as a defender. Was the weak part of Pacho is the defensive aggressivity, you know. But if you watch a boy with almost 2 meters, very quick, you want to play with defensive line very high, very quick. And if you work, build up from the back, almost time, and you felt that you have a center back with that quality and that calm with the ball in the feet, you understand, wow, there's a diamond. Now we have to work this diamond, and we don't have to forget that he's a defender, and he didn't defend so well. So we try to work the aggressivity, one part, the intensity, defensive intensity, and the work of defensive line gave them some principles, very important principles to help to become a best defender. But I identified immediately that qualities of Pacho, and I said to my colleagues, this will be one guy that we will sell very quick, and that happened.
I would remember also another result in South American Cup against Bragantino. Very, very close to the
Yeah.
end of this path.
Yeah.
What went wrong in that occasion, or in general, what did you miss to your team in order to reach the final?
First of all, experience, because we play home. We lost 2-0, but Bauman was red card sent off. Yes. And we are losing 1-0 in a corner, 1-0. And when we are reacting, Bauman was sent off. And at the end, we considered the 2-0. I felt at that moment in the pitch, I felt from one side, there are men playing, experienced men playing, obviously with quality, Bragantino and Brazilian squad, and the other side, boys with less experience, not so good as Brazilian players, and we felt that difference in the first game. Second game, we started very well. We started winning 1-0 and attacking and almost reaching the 2-0, but then they, as I told you, along the game, they recover possession, they recover position also, and they draw 1-1, and we get out. I felt especially lack of experience in my team.
Then I would spend the last words about this capital and about Ecuador politics. So recently was hit by a coup d'état. So now you are keeping touch with your previous player, or not?
Yes.
And
No.
if you know something about this situation, because Ecuador, in terms of football federation, is high, but in ordinary life, it's difficult to live in
Yeah,
Ecuador. In
yeah,
South
very,
America, than the other South American states.
very worried about some moments of security of people in Ecuador. Lots of narco traffic gangs, they struggle a lot to conquer spaces. A city like Guayaquil is a violent city with lots of insecurity problems because it's a strategic point to the narcos problems. And they almost make hostages the president it's very difficult to deal with the narco traffic, and in a country that have also some economical problems, families with some economical problems, it's easier sometimes that the kids try to go to wrong ways. Instead of studying and working, they go to the criminal way, and it's very difficult to Ecuador to control that problem. And of course, then this is a social part, and football is a social part also, and it's very difficult to split one thing from the other. And I speak lots of times with some players asking if they are okay, how is the security, and they say that's now it's difficult to live there, and it makes me very sad, very, very sad, because I love them. I have 1 year and a half knowing people, I have liaison with all journalists, players, coaches, directors, and I'm always very worried about that situation in Ecuador.
Thank you for the overview because it's not common for a coach talking about this topic. Because I would remember that football is a community, and before a player, there is a person. So then in 2022, you decide to leave Indipendente del Valle for marrying with the Mexican club Leon.
Mhm.
But after a few months, something went wrong. How do you
Yeah,
explain? How did you explain this episode?
I, I felt a very difficult environment.
Months.
Leon buy me from Independiente, and when I arrived, I felt some inside problems of the club, especially with the team, some lack of professionalism, some lack of professionalism. So I want to do video, oh, less video. Oh, the training sessions are very intense. Oh, we are training too much. Oh, we are arriving too early. So it was a very difficult environment that I felt 6 months working uh, against the waves. And after 6 months, after the first tournament, I met with the president and the sports director, and I asked that some players are not good to continue because I felt that they are struggling against our way of working. And two last coaches, Holland and Nacho Ambriz, that coach before me, they asked exactly the same thing. And the players didn't left and the coaches left. So when they told me that was very difficult because of this, I thought, if I don't go, I will be sacked because I have no conditions to work. So for me, money and the contracts are important, but when you are a passion guy regarding what you are doing, you do this with a tremendous passion. And when you start feeling that you don't have passion when you go to work, something is not okay. So I resigned after 6 months. I resigned and I stayed 3 days without working. 3 days because Bahia then
Next stage was Bahia.
the city group called me.
In your career was Bahia in Brazilian atmosphere, culture totally different. In fact, which is the atmosphere when you arrived there. But I would remember that Bahia is in the center of Brazil, so totally different from Rio and São Paulo. The mentality is not the same. So
Exactly.
how could you explain this difference between Rio and Bahia, and which is the atmosphere when you arrive there, respect to Mexico?
No, the atmosphere was very good because Group City by Bahia at that time, City Group. And the first problem was that the fans thought that City Group by Bahia and Bahia will become Brazilian championship immediately because money and players and all of that. That was the first problem. High expectations not related with the reality that we have. Brazil is like a university of everything regarding football. How to deal with the aggressive fans because they are very aggressive. All days you have news about they are inside the training facilities demanding, protesting, whatever. They sack coaches at high speed, so they don't have patience. But the problem is for me that I understand that the most important part of my profession is the training session. I didn't have the time to train. We played 3 and 3 days. 3 and 3 days. We have 4 months and a half and 42 games played.
Hmm.
42 games played. Portuguese league. Portuguese
At the
league.
time, you don't have the time to text the team. Yeah.
So Portuguese league, 38 games, 11 months, 11 months. I have in 4 months and a half, 42 games. So no time to train, no conditions to train, no conditions to train the build up, the pressing. No, you recover. And if you don't have a very big squad and balanced squad, playing 3 in 3 days, you cannot use the same players always. So you have to mix. And when you have to mix, the quality goes down. If the quality goes down, the results are difficult. But even in this situation, we won a title, the Baiano. Baiano.
The title one for you.
Exactly. They didn't win this title for 3 years, and we won that title, which is a competition about districts in Brazil before the national championship. And when you start the season and you play these competitions, lots of coaches are sacked during this competition before starting the Brazilian Serie A, which is incredible. So I think we made some mistakes building the squad, and after winning the Baiano, then we reached the quarterfinals in the Brazilian Cup. We made the same result. The best result in Brazilian Cup of the club was quarterfinals. So we made equal. We lost penalty shootout against Grêmio to reach the semifinals, which will be historic because Bahia never reached the semifinals of Brazilian Cup. So with all these problems, we won a title and we reached the best result of the Brazilian Cup. The problems became with the Serie A and Brazilian Serie A, and some injuries, because injuries in Brazil are several.
The medical staff, the medical team is not prepared a lot.
Yeah, and there's demandings of playing 3 in 3 days. It's impossible. The players did not recover. And as you've told, Bahia is in a part. Bahia and Fortaleza are the clubs that made more kilometers when they travel along Brazil to play. Every time you have to travel lots of kilometers.
Like MLS.
So no time to train, games forward, demandings. They want to win everything, all the games. If you don't win a game, immediately problems. I can explain you this to understand. Bahia last year was in Serie B. They are promoted 4 teams in Serie B to Serie A. 4 teams. Bahia was promoted, Cruzeiro was promoted, Grêmio was promoted, and Vasco da Gama was promoted. These 4 teams were promoted to Serie A. From these 4 teams, Bahia was the only team during all the games in the Serie B that never goes down the first places. The first 4 places, Bahia was first, was second, was third, was fourth, but never down. The other, Cruzeiro, Grêmio, and Vasco, were down. They stay all the season in the first places. Do you know how many coaches they had? 4 coaches, my friend. 4 coaches. And they never go down the 4th place during all the season. So if you can understand about the violence that is Brazil regarding everything, external environment, number of games, traveling, it's terrible. And if you don't have a good squad, it's very difficult. So after 9 months and results not so good, but they are 4 relegated. When I resign, we are out of that zone. We are 5th or 6th from down. But I felt that the demandings and the violence and all the context was so difficult for me and my family that I said, no, I don't want any more of this for me. And some problems also with the structure of the city group, because you have to work with some ideas of the city group and some ideas that I didn't agree.
No, I would remember about the city group that has inside Manchester City, Palermo, Troyes, Girona,
Exactly.
and Bahia. Now,
Exactly.
the audience, because the city group probably doesn't know what it means. So,
Yeah, first error was for me that city group, when buys Bahia, is not identified with Brazilian reality. First time made a squad with a lot of young players to develop players. This in Brazil is impossible. You win or you are bad, or you win or you have to go. You have to go in city group is not because they defend the coaches. If they felt that you are making a good job, even if the results are not very good, and you have the example of Girona. Girona was down last season and then they recover and now they are what they are. They have patience. City group has patience and struggle a lot against the fans when they contest me and results, and city group is no, the coach is untouchable. Problem is the way city group works daily inside the club, things that I didn't agree. For example, the physical, they have a sports performance director in each club, and that sports performance director sometimes does not have the same ideas as we have about conditioning in football, in my opinion. And there start to appear some problems, some injuries, because work, strength work, in my opinion, in wrong days, regarding the competition, injuries, all of problems that are, when you go to a city group, obviously you have to work inside the guidelines of the group. And if regarding the game, we tried to play under the guidelines of City Group, which is very near to Manchester City, but with not that quality of players. Exactly, which becomes our job very difficult. Then after this is the internal situation that you as a coach, if you don't agree, you say, if I have to die, I have to die with my ideas. And if the things are going wrong, must be with our ideas, not with the ideas of other people. And then started the problems and internal problems, lots of problems with the performance director, which was a woman. And I said, no, I don't want this anymore. The results were not very good. The threat of being relegated was high, in my opinion. And I said no, especially because of the internal problems and the violence, external violence. I said no, it's enough for me. I don't want anymore. And I need to rest, because since I left Benfica, I never stopped. Never stopped. And I said, I need to rest.
your brain going on.
Exactly. And I said, I need to rest, one. And two, I need to stop to think and to analyze my career, because Leon was not very good, Bahia was not very good, even winning a title was not very good, and I have to take care of my career and take care of my decisions. So I will not accept now anything that will appear. And why, after leaving Leon, and I said, now I'm going to stop. Why I accept? Because it was the group City. City group phoned me and you say, wow, City group. Okay. Instead of analyzing detailed the reality, wow, City group. And when I resigned from Bahia, I said, no, now I'm going to stop. Now I'm going to start to analyze, think, and decide very well my next step.
Changing topics, Brazilian rhymes with dreams and talent. Had you had the chance to notice someone who has not yet become a famous player, but he could have played for example, Benfica during the tournament? some players, it's not important the name, it's important that you have note with your eyes that an expertise people, expertise person, what the what are your experience in the field.
It's one thing is fabulous is the game in Brazil. The game is a stadium crowded,
Hmm?
almost passion and the quality of the players. The
And the
quality of
quality
the
of
players is
someone who is not yet became famous, but you have underlined with your pen.
and the line Marcos Leonardo that
And
curiously when
Benfica,
I I underlined
Everton. No, it's Everton Suarez,
Everton Suarez. I underlined the boy that signed for Barcelona, which is very good player.
Victor Roque,
Uh,
Victor Roque,
Victor Roque, extraordinary. Berardo,
Hendrik.
the center. Hendrik,
I love
Berardo,
it. I love it.
Berardo, center back of São Paulo. Center back of São Paulo, Berardo is very good player. Uh, Ferreirinha, which plays in Grêmio, now is in São Paulo. Um, uh, Amazing players. When you are managing a game and watching with your eyes nearby the quality, the technical quality, the intensity of the game, the it's incredible. It's extraordinary. The quality, individual quality of the players in Brazil, incredible.
It's due to the street culture and also to the jinka dance that it's
Yeah,
inside
exactly.
culture that come from Africa. I would remember this
Yeah,
dance come from Ghana and the
yeah,
west coast of Africa because the most talented
exactly,
player are Afro-Brazilian player. Also
exactly, exactly.
Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, and others. Someone a little part, for example, Kaká. It's a strange player because it's totally different, but the main are came out from that traditions. And then
Yeah.
you come back to Mexico again in your club, which you are finding Toluca. Uh, in this case, also another city because Toluca is not Mexico City, so it's not the
Mhm.
center of Mexico, and is particular.
30
So
minutes. 30
how did
minutes.
how did this opportunity came about?
About, I think, about the good work, or better, about people understands clearly what's happening in Leon. Everybody in Mexico knows what's happening in Leon, and people that believe the way we play is the way they like and develop young players, etc. I accept Toluca because of the project. As I told you, I will stop to think. I refuse some offers, in special from Portugal. I say I don't want to return
Ah, you
Portugal yet.
refuse. You refuse some proposal to Portugal.
Yeah,
Why? Because or probably it's better for you because know the language and that you have a lot
yeah,
of advantages, a lot of
project.
advantages.
Yeah, but the projects are not
Ah, okay.
interested to me. Not and clubs that also Portugal starts with this are starting with this problem, sacking coaches in high speed, and for me it was not stable projects. You know, if you can say that there are stable projects in football, there are no stable projects in football, but there are one more stable than another,
Okay.
and it's not about the idea. No, I want to continue outside. And when appears Toluca, when I stayed Leon, I knew that Toluca was a huge club. It's the third club with more titles in Mexico, conditions to work extraordinary, and especially a good squad to work, and a good idea. They play as closest as possible of my way of watching the football. So all the conditions were very good. It's also a club in Mexico that has not a big history of sacking coaches. Also, they give time. They are worried about the way you play. They want to win, of course, but they are also a selling club, develop players to sell. So I was totally convinced when Toluca called me, and I said yes because of this, and yes because of my last time in Mexico was not so good in Leon. No, I want a revenge in my career, and I felt that Toluca can give me that conditions to make good work, and I think we are doing a very good work now.
In fact, I would underline a curious aspect because Mexico Football League is the richest in in Latin America. This
Correct.
often pushes the best player to stay in the league and not going and play in Europe. Do you think this is a risk penalizing the Mexican movement? Because I'm talking about the national Mexican team. Because if you don't experience your talent abroad, for example, in Europe and stay in Mexico, it's a limit for me.
Mhm.
What do you think for you that you are a coach and you have a lot of experience?
Totally agree. And now it's something that they are speaking a lot because national team lost with the United States, Nations League. They don't win United States since 9 games. And now they are discussing youth football. Why does not players appear more young players with quality and all of that? And one of the things is that, my friend, they win lots of money, lots of money. And as I told you before in our interview, the necessity is the mother of lots of things in our life. Here, they don't have necessity of nothing. They are okay. The players that want to leave to Europe, they want not by money, but let me experience something different. But sometimes they felt strongly the demandings in Europe towards a football player. They suffer a lot with that because here they have, I'm not saying that they are bad professionals, not that, but they have a culture of being okay. I have I'm near my family, in my city, in my country, my language. I eat spicy food, and I earn lots of I earn lots of money. So why I will leave this environment? And this is the biggest is okay if people can win lots of money, okay, but also is a big problem regarding the ambition of the Mexican player.
And what future prospects do you have for Toluca project?
Well, first of all, make better than the last tournaments, which we are doing now. We are making a great job with only new players, with only three new players. It's almost the same team that stays in 12 in the last tournament. Now we are third. Now we are the best attack, the fifth best defense, and we are third, only 2 points down America and Monterrey, which have huge squads, huge squads. You look to the bench, and all the guys that are in the bench are in the first 11 of the all the teams in Mexico. So I think we are making a very good job. Our first objective is qualifying the first six to go to the direct to the playoffs. And then playoffs are a different championship. They are playoffs, and two
Like
games, and everything can happen. Our first step was make better than the last tournament, but obviously I arrived here with the idea of becoming champion as soon as possible because, as I told you, this is the third club with more titles, but they don't win a title at 11 years that they don't win a title. So they are looking for this idea of becoming champions, but we are now arriving, structuring our way of playing. The team is growing and growing regarding our game idea. It's closest regarding our closest to our game idea. And also we are structuring the part of the squad, renewal the squad because they have players with high ages, and also start to look to the youth department in order that we can structure all the club.
I've opened my mind. In fact, I would last two questions. The first one is how do you think about playoff? Do you think that decrease the competitive during the league like MLS? Because in Europe, normally I come from Italy. In the Italian league, there is not a playoff.
Portuguese.
So I ask you your point of view, because during the league,
Yeah.
sometimes you relax and you decide today we decide to not play very well as usual.
Yeah, I don't like because for me, a champion must be rewarded related with stability and balance of quality during all the competition. If you win more games, you have to become a champion. Even if you play better, worse, ugly, beautiful, if you win more points than the others, you must become champion. And in Mexico, you can qualify in six and become champion at the final. It's because this is not this is not about regularity. Now is because a cup playoff. If you have a problem during a game, a sent off, you became with 10, you lose 3-0, it's very difficult to recover in the second game, even if you are better. If the referee makes a mistake, if your player of you makes a mistake, if the coach makes a mistake in a game, probably you cannot recover. And for that, for me, in all the countries, I defend two competitions: championship, regularity; cup, okay, with sent off, with playoffs, yes, two different competitions. I will always watching a championship regarding the regularity of your results and your performances.
Last question, a word question. How, according to you, how influence do drug narco traffic organization as in during the championship? Because I think there is sometimes money come from illegal
Yeah.
activities and come in the football or other companies. I think that there is a connection also with Ecuador because you quote before.
See,
It's your point
but
of view, your point of
yeah, yeah,
view.
yeah. I think there is not the big connection between narco traffic and football, in my opinion. The groups that own the clubs are not groups related with that kind of activity. They are very well-known groups related with televisions, with construction of buildings. So the group, more than this, I cannot say, but inside the game, the championship, the referees, I felt a very normal competition. And people that lives here in Mexico, they told me narco traffics are not interested in football. They have other interests. And so I remember that Pablo Escobar at
The
some
murder,
time,
the murder.
Atlético Nacional of Colombia, I remember that. But here there is no thing. This guy's a narco traffic and is fan of this club and gives money to this club. No. And the people that are here, they say, unfortunately, football environment is not influenced by narco traffic.
Coach Paiva, I would thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Uh, it's not common for Italian audience receive these infos because it's very very close to Portugal and South American culture. So I would like to say thank you from my heart, and
Arriving,
I hope that in the future we could uh,
thank you.
we could have you as again as guest in this channel.
Arriving to Italy is important for me also as a professional, as a coach. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Se desideri continuare a sintonizzarti assieme a noi su frequenze calcistiche estere, supportaci con un bel like ed un'iscrizione al nostro canale.